Good evening. Welcome to the dinner table with your host, Q and She.
What's going on?
What's going on? Hope you guys are enjoying your evening. Hope you guys are driving carefully out there because it started to snow again. So everybody be careful out there. We have a great show in store for you guys today or tonight. What's on your plate? We want to know what's on your plate. So make sure you give us a call. Make sure to call in at 248-854-9850. You can also talk to our guest this evening. And we have the one and only Principal P. I'm going to give him a nice introduction because he is the principal of Munford High School. So we have him here today, and we have Munford alumni here. Mustangs. So let me just give you a little bio about Principal Perry. Damian Perry, affectionately known as Principal P, is a lifelong educator of 20 years, with 17 of those years being spent as school principal. Principal P was born and raised as a single-parent home right on the east side of the D, where he attended Chrysler Elementary and MLK High School, where he played football. A proud product of the DPS, who spent his life putting the education of students first. Principal P has led schools in Detroit, Pontiac, Southfield, and was called back home to DPS, where he led Southeastern and currently Samuel C. Munford High School. Principal P has a heart for children and firmly believes all things were possible through the power of education. I would like to introduce to some and show the others Mr. Perry, Principal Perry in the house.
What's going on? What's going on? Q and She.
Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to definitely be here.
Now let's, Q, you know what? Now we was talking, Q is alumni of Munford.
We deep in here.
Mustang Nation.
We deep in here, man. Munford Mustang. I got Munford Mustangs on the line talking about Munford Mustangs in the house. That's right.
Shout out to Munford High School. Now, Principal Perry, how long have you been a principal at Munford High School?
So this will actually be my third year at Munford High School.
Okay.
Yeah, third year.
Now, I have a few questions as far as...
Sure.
Some people know what the definition of a principal. What is your job as a principal over a high school, especially a high school, and a huge high school as Munford High School? Right.
So I'm going to be quite honest with you. The definition of really what it is to be a principal has kind of changed.
Really? Because I looked up the definition.
So when I was in high school, quite honestly, I felt as if my principal was just in the office all day.
Yeah.
But I can definitely say us as principals now, this generation of school leaders, I mean, we're everything from custodians to security to teachers to lunchroom attendants to cafeteria aides to gardening and doing the lawn for the school. I mean, whatever it takes, at the end of the day, we do as school leaders. Right. So, when it comes to what it is to be an administrator, it's not about being in your office. It's not about hanging out, looking at kids through your video camera or through the little video screens. It's literally about being there. So that if that means me doing home visits, if that means me, making sure that we're taking food to families, if that if that means that, I'm doing some things as far as, connecting, families with DTE for resources to keep their lights on, whatever it is, we do. So, the definition of what it is to be a school leader is literally all of those things that we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure our kids are successful. So to me, that's the definition.
Now, I'm going to be honest. I used to always talk to Perry at work, and I really thought that he just sat in the office all day. I'm like, you don't do nothing. So I had volunteered at Munford a few times, and he was running every which way. And I was like, oh, you really do work. You just don't sit in the office behind the desk and call shots, because he a shot caller. He tell me what to do and boss me around. So I was like, he's sitting in the office on the walkie-talkie. Hey, I need you over there in the West Wing and the East Wing. But that is not the case. I seen he was hands-on with the students and the staff as a principal over there at Munford.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I mean, that's just what it takes. At the end of the day, it's about relationship. It's about building relationship. and I can't have that relationship or connectivity with my kids being away or being separate. You can't take advice. You can't listen to my perspective unless you know me and know that I'm going to be around. So yeah, I get it. That was the kind of definition. And all of my former principals, I love them. You know what I mean? And actually learned a lot from them. But I just think the definition of what it is in today's urban school is so much different than it was when you were at Mumford back in the day, or I was at King back in the day. It's just changed. So we have to be all things, quite honestly, to all people. Yeah.
Man, I remember back in Mumford, man. Well, we had Dr. Oden.
Okay.
That was the principal. But one of my favorite teachers, Mr. Fancher. Man, Mr. Fancher will cuss you out. I'm telling you, he'll let you have it. But everybody was hoping to be in his class because you would come in there, man, and he was cool. You would come in there, man, and you would get to talking, man. So you would try to cap on him, and he'd cap back on you. He'd cuss at you. What, in your opinion, is there a big, well, I guess you just said it earlier, is a big difference between principals and the teachers back then than teachers as far as now?
So let me just say this. I think our teachers, as a whole, in Detroit Public Schools Community District, and teachers as a whole in this nation are doing a phenomenal job. We're literally making bricks without straw. My mom was a teacher. My mom retired after 36 years within Detroit Public Schools. She was at Cleveland Middle School. My aunt was a teacher. She was at Duffield Elementary School back in the day.
Duffield for 2 days.
Whitney Young. So I come just from educators. I just think what people need to really understand is it's a tough job.
Yeah.
It's really not about, just sort of sitting up, hey, Johnny, you have this assignment. I remember my mother taking food to kids back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember my mother, taking clothes and, doing all those types of things. And our teachers, just like they were doing it back then, are doing it right now. Okay. I think the scrutiny is just different for persons. And then I think you have Facebook and other media,
right.
Media takeout. I don't even know if that even exists still anymore, but you have all these websites or, memes or whatever, and you see this small population of teachers that are wilding or not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But a majority of our teachers are in the trenches, and quite honestly, they're underpaid, they're overworked, and, they're not doing this for the money.
Right.
They're literally doing it because they have the heart for the kids. So, I think, this newer generation of teachers, administrators are just having to do things that quite honestly were just different than it was back in the day.
Right.
So I would definitely say the spirit of what you had in Mr. Fancher is really living in teachers today.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I ain't gonna say they cussing folk out, but some are. They should not be. But I also get it as far as building relationship, and obviously, that dialogue with that teacher meant something to you.
Absolutely.
And that's important too, because at the end of the day, you had to build that relationship. But yeah, I would just want to reiterate to everyone, and I think this pandemic is teaching that. Yeah. Teaching is not easy.
No, sir.
No.
And I think that specifically when our kids come back into our buildings, we're going to see a deeper level of appreciation, because it's just not something, I used to hear this old adage, if you can't do, you teach. And that's not true.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just think it's going to be a whole nother level of appreciation. And I think that, persons just have to continue to remember, that same relationship, that same drive that you had, that you wanted to really build that with your teacher. You need to really do the things to ensure that your student is having that same relationship with their teacher and administrator as well.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Now, let me ask you this question. Are you a Principal P? Is Principal P, hey, Principal P, hey, this, that, and you're like, hey, how y'all doing? Or are you some of you can't even pass the minimum school test. You know what that means? That means you can hardly read. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody asks me that. I mean, that's like the number one question. I just say I'm fair and equitable. At the end of the day, I build relationship with my students. So I think that's really important. So we kick, when I say kick it, we have conversation, we kick it. I definitely make sure, that I also am very approachable to students and that type of thing.
Okay.
But I also feel my job is to give our kids the real. And I think that's where sometimes that can be misconstrued as mean. So no, I don't think my kids think I'm mean, but I definitely feel as if I'm going to be equitable and fair, and I want them to do their best, because quite honestly, society doesn't feel that they have the best within them.
Right.
So I'm going to be that person, to whereas with my seniors, I'm going to be quite honest. I don't talk about prom. I don't talk about those events. You know why? Because my goal is to make sure that you walk across that stage.
Right. That's
so
right.
once you walk across that stage, we could talk about prom. We could talk about the Balenciagas you finna get. We could talk about all that kind of stuff. But until then, I'm asking you about those grades. I'm asking you about making sure that you actually went to class. You went to your first hour, your second hour, third hour. So to me, I feel as if my legacy in relationships will be, no matter what, Mr. Perry, Mr. P gave me the real. So, quite honestly, my kids do call me Perry or P, and I'm fine with that. I'm not that formal that you have to, I'm not that. So, but I'm giving my kids the real. So the conversation is going to be, for me, tell me how you are on those credits. Tell me how you are in that credit recovery class. Tell me how far have you put in for any scholarships. Tell me what you're going to do the day after graduation.
That's right.
So for some, they may look at it as, where some teachers or, persons may be having conversation about those fun events. I'm going to do a little bit of that, but I'm there to make sure that you get across that stage, because at the end of the day, that's your number one goal. That's what you're supposed to be about at the end of the day.
At the end of the day. And I always say that about you. He is a very caring, loving, affectionate principal. And like I said, I've witnessed you interact with children, and I see that the respect and the love that they have for you. And then I've seen you at work or even talk to you sometimes during the day, and you be like, everything good, but when you get home, you're like, whoo, it was a rough day. And I'm like, you can't even tell, because the way you carry yourself and the way you handle it. But to me, you have that poker face to me anyway.
Okay.
Because I'm the type of person, I'd be like, wah.
Right.
And he like, okay. And he gone on and deal with it. So to me, you're equipped for this. And like you said, you were pretty much born and raised into education.
Definitely.
So I see how it's a marriage. I see where you fit in and how you, like I said, work with the children and the staff. I see it with the staff too.
Definitely.
Do you have like you have a cutoff switch, or do you bring some of this home, some of the issues home? Because I know some of the kids, it may be a few that you really kind of get attached to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or more so than others. And I know you care about all your kids, but I know it's some in particular that maybe you're going through some issues that you talk to personally that you gravitate to. How is it? How hard is it for that cutoff switch?
So, for me, and I tell the stats, so I really don't have, it's so weird. I really don't have those negative kind of interactions with my kids like that. I've never so I've been a principal literally for 17 years.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because I started out really, really young as far as in school leadership. So I've never had a student, I think one cussed me out.
Really? What?
In all of my years, and I say that to say, I usually have that cutoff conversation with staff. And what I mean by that is literally when I go home, I'm releasing from that.
Okay.
Now I'm going to, we've had situations in Mumford, we've had situations Southeastern, or other schools I've led to whereas I get those calls to be able to say we have to do something X, Y, and Z to help kids. Now we get that all the time. We just had somebody literally last week that's missing, and somebody that we had to sort of deal with. But for me, I literally cut that off when I get home.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, I also know that I have to be able to be strong enough to be able to continue to lead and be able to be fresh the next day.
Right.
So I'm able to sort of shut certain pieces down and actually move on and then be able to come back hard the next day. But the caring never stops. It's a 24-hour job.
Absolutely.
Even literally, I'm talking today. I got a call from somebody, an older lady, that I have to figure out because when they shoveled Mumford's parking lot, they blocked her in.
Wow.
So literally, so it's a 24-hour job. I'll get a call from a teacher. I'll get a call from another staff member about another student that may need a resource. This is what we need to do. We're dealing with, quite honestly, suicide situations that we get those.
Yeah.
But when I get in my vehicle and I'm heading home, and I live in the neighborhood as well, so I don't live in West Bloomfield anywhere else. I live down the street from Mumford.
Yeah.
So when I get in my vehicle and I'm heading to work, or I'm heading home from work, I'm able to then sort of shut that piece off. But I also know that I have a cell phone, I have a text messages, I have emails that literally go off at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, where I'm answering calls and that kind of thing, and we're dialoguing as a team on how we can support kids. Right. So it's weird. Yes, I do have that cutoff, but I also know at the end of the day, God has given me stewardship, and I know that stewardship is something that is 24 hours. Yeah. So even while people are on vacation, teachers have an ability to be able to say, I'm good, I ain't. Right. But administrators, we're in it 24 hours a day. Wow. Because people are calling us, and we have to be able to respond. I can't say I'm on vacation.
That's right.
You know what I mean? When that older lady, like literally, she was like 74 years old, called today. So I called the assistant superintendent of physical facilities for the district. We got to figure out the way to get this woman's car dug out. That's right. So I can't cut it off because, quite honestly, I'm giving stewardship, leadership over that building, and that's a 24-hour job. I'm even thinking about it now. I'm thinking about there was a fight in the neighborhood when we were in face-to-face. Right. So Saturday, my culture team, Sunday, we're saying, oh, did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? Did you get this message? Did you get this? Did you get that? And literally, we're trying to be able to build the capacity on how we're going to deal with it on Monday. Right. So it's a 24-hour job. But I am very, very direct in being able to say, once I'm heading home, I do have that buffer. But like I said, if people reach out, which they always do, I'm always Johnny on the spot to make sure I'm dealing with the situation.
Man. And to me, that's like going, to me, over and beyond. I mean, Absolutely. I know you do have a set hour, but everybody has to rest. Everybody right. has a time where they need to take a break. And you said, you shut it off. Oh, I have one young lady on here said the best principal I ever had. That's what's
wow,
up.
Okay. I received that, and like I said, the job is very, very special to me, and like I said, when I'm speaking, I'm not just speaking for me. I'm speaking for every principal within the Detroit Public School Community District. Right. They take this job seriously, and we go hard in the paint every single day.
Now, I have a question.
Sure.
When you were going to school, how are the parents now? We talked about the students. How are the parents? Now, I'm going to give my little testament to this before you say something. Where I worked with the school and helped volunteer, and some of these parents, and then you see, to me, why some of the children act the way that they do. And to me, it's just like, wow. But it's learned behavior from their parents. So they don't know any different, nor do they get anything different, because the parents are, I'm going to be nice, the parents are uncouth. Yeah, they're interesting. The parents are uncouth. So, and I just be like, wow, So how do you deal with the parents that come in and the parents of these students, or either like you're not dealing with a parent, you're dealing with a grandmother or aunt because the mother or the dad is not in the picture?
Well, the grandmother is like 40.
Right. 29. She's 29.
So, she pulling up listening to no disrespect, but she pulling up listening to Sada Baby. Yeah.
Hey.
But I rock with Sada Baby, but so disrespect.
Literally.
Hey.
So let me just say this. I'm going to give you the real answer for every administrator, every teacher that's dealt with that. Here's what I've done in my 20 years in education, 17 years as an administrator. People have issues that they bring into the school that have nothing to do with you.
Wow.
Okay.
And they know that we are governed by rules and expectations, and we can't exactly act out. So that's one level of it. It's not a test. I know that they're not going to push back at a certain level. And I'm going to use my frustration about my living situation, my money situation, baby daddy they ain't doing nothing. I'm going to take that all out on that person. That's one level of it. Another level is everybody did not have a positive school experience.
Okay.
And quite honestly, that's not the fault of the parent. So unfortunately, there's some situations when people see Mr. Perry, they're seeing Mr. Odin.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Okay. They're seeing Beverly Ann Gray.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're seeing other administrators that were in their past that they may have had issues with, and now it's time to lash out. Another level of it is I see this person that is the principal, and I may not have what I feel like is the educational sort of background to sort of deal with that person. Right. So I'm going to lash out as well. And I think the other portion of it, too, we have sensationalized, and I talk to our kids about this all the time, we've sensationalized disrespect.
Yep.
And then what's amazing to me is we've sensationalized it, but we'll have to come back right around to ask you to do something for them.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then so within all of our, one of the things we talk about with our kids is coping. So specifically, I don't have any coping skills. So you know what? I don't know how to sort of be able to ask for something. I don't know how to be able to react to something. Right. So my reaction is I'm gonna cuss you the heck out.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm processing as school leader all of those things, and I've had some doozies.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I've had some doozies, and Mumford has taught me so much in that regard.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I process all of the things those parents are dealing with, all of those situations they're dealing with, and be able to sort of still hear them to be able to process what their issue is. Right. And not hold any ought. Because at the end of the day, I'm going home.
Yeah.
There, and I know my situation, but unfortunately, I know theirs too.
Right.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's just as leaders, as school leaders, we rock and roll to serve.
Right. Now, I had this experience myself, and then I see this with parents. Your kid get kicked out of school. You coming up there and you rah, and your son or your daughter ain't did no wrong. And you
somebody got somebody to blame.
and they
kid.
coming up there, and why he get kicked out and why she get kicked out, and you just like, and to me, I always relate, this is why the kid acting like that. I remember when my son, he was in school, he got kicked out, and I know his demeanor. And it was a situation with a little girl. She hit him, called herself like him. No, she spit on him. He hit her.
Oh, wow.
So I already knew you did something. But I wasn't going up there, my son, I'll do that. And I'm like, no, first I'm going to hear both sides of the story. And you don't have those parents who come in there with a level mind. They just come in there on a million because their daughter or their son got kicked out and they want to know why. And I want to talk to the principal.
Right.
How do you handle that?
So,
and they know their daughter or son is hell.
They know it.
You know what I'm saying? They know they hell, and you know what I'm saying? They did something, but they don't want to,
Right.
Every situation is different, and I can say one of the big things for us is every school that I've led, my biggie is just really fighting. So, actually it's fighting and teacher disrespect, because at the end of the day, our teachers don't make enough to be cussed out.
Right.
So, I don't have any issue of, and I think any of my, teachers can say, I have no issue of suspending a student over, just, you can't call your teacher a B. You
just can't do it.
You can't do that. But so what I do in the suspension, I try to have the story in line, statements in line. I also try to have any proof and be able to lay those facts out to the parents. Okay. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it does not work. But I stand by my word, and I definitely stand by I'm not going to be biased toward anyone.
Right.
So really, that's the other thing when you talk about as far as niceness and that type of thing, I'm going to be unbiased.
Right. Okay.
You know, at the end of the day, this is what it is. This is the information that we have. This is what it is, and this is the expectation. And we're holding your son or daughter accountable to that. So, like I said, you know, that's just the way I kind of, and it's gonna happen. And not to, I don't need to. And I think the biggest thing is to anyone, to any administrator, to any teacher, I just don't take it personally.
And that's the thing, you can't take. To me, you can't. Take
Yeah. So I just, you know. Well, I'm not going to go into because I could go into a story, but I'm not going to go into that story. But I've had, you know, parents, you know, literally say, you know, just some very interesting things. I've also had some parents say some interesting things, and literally a student said, "I don't know why you're mean to him, Mom."
Really?
So I had a parent very specifically, and this was just this past school year when we were in the building, and just for whatever reason was very, very, very aggressive to me, to the point that even one of the APs stopped the lady and said, well, two of them, what did he do to you?
Right.
And even so, what ended up happening was the parent ended up coming back to apologize because the daughter stopped her and said he's like one of the few, you know, one of the staff members that, you know, literally talk to me, have a relationship with me. Whenever I need something, will help me out. Why are you being angry and mean to him? Wow. So once again, I just go back to that Rolodex.
Right.
Negative experience with, you know, with a leader when they were in school, the low self-esteem, you know, all of those things. But at the end of the day, I don't take it personally.
Yeah, and to me, you can't, because you never know, and this is so true, especially to me with in Detroit or any city, but what people are going through. You don't know some of these kids' situations at home.
Definitely.
You don't know the parent situation.
Definitely.
And then they use this platform to lash out at you or the staff. So I like the fact that you said, you know, you don't take it personal, because you can't take it personal.
Man, I remember when I was going to Mumford. We had. Yeah. Well, you know what I'm saying. I wouldn't, baby. First of all, I got to represent Southwest all day, because there's Southwest alumni in the building too. But I was doing bad in Southwest, and my mother was like, "You gonna come back over here on the West Side?" But we used to have, I would say /therapists, but they were counselors. Yeah. You know, and I remember now. Me and Miles been cool since day one, but our neighborhoods are rivals. You understand? Like, I got adopted by 6 Mile, by the LA. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are my people that I hung out with. That's my family, and then Miles represent PA, Puritan. You know what I'm saying? But we never got off into that. We were always cool. But I remember I was actually being chased by some PAs, and I went into Miss Rutherford's office. Miss Rutherford was my counselor. Okay. Miss Rutherford was fine as hell. I had to hit my own echo. You know? And, you know, she stopped what she was doing. I ran in there, and she was, what's going on? I'm like, man, I'm being chased, this, that, and other. And she sat there, she closed the door and everything. And, you know, we talked. But she was like my therapist. You know, I could talk to her about anything, man. And she was cool. Do you guys still have what they consider counselors?
We do. So Detroit Public Schools, under our current leadership, we made like some huge shifts for the better. So I can remember back in the day, DPS literally, you know, for a school as large as Mumford only had one counselor. So the schools went through a switch of, you know, really this whole guidance counselor piece of having 4 or 5 or 6, you know, like they did back in the day to our, like when we did. And it was like a push probably about 5 to 10 years ago, and just kind of just ended, of actually having counselors, teachers be counselors. So at the end of the day, what happened, you would work in a group with like a homeroom teacher, and your teacher would actually calculate grades, credits, and the whole 9 yards. They've gone back to having guidance counselors, and as well as under Dr. Vidi's leadership, they've also gone back to having social workers in the building. Oh, nice. So, you know, one of the things that has always been very near and dear to my heart, shout out to all our social workers, has been to have that social worker in the building. Because there's some things, quite honestly, as dynamic as I may think that I am, or we may think that we are as principals, or we may think that we are as teachers, it's certain things that need to be dealt with specifically by clinicians.
Okay.
They need to be dealt with by social workers. So, we have, suicide was not a big thing when we were in school. That was not something that you really heard about specifically in the African American community. That unfortunately has shifted. So, we do have counselors, all of our high schools, and I can speak for all of our DPSCD high schools, do have social workers that are separate from counselors. Okay. So yes, our counselors are clinicians are able to deal with that, but we do have social workers that are specifically in the building to be able to deal with that, and that's important because there's some certain things. As I'm having conversation, I will specifically say you need to have a conversation with our with our social worker, so she can give you some support. So that's very important, and I can say each of our DPSCD high schools do have them.
Now, I have this is a two-part question. It is. Man, I just lost my train of thought just that quick. Do you have like talent shows there? Because that was our way of showing our creativity. And we had the Mumford edition. They did the I wanna read your mind. they tore the house down. I'm talking about but we were a runner up. I knew we were going to win. And they came out of there, man. I forgot the guy's name. Big guy. He came out and did Barry White, and the whole crowd, the girls stood up and screamed. But that was like our outlet. That was our, because we had a lot of energy. So when we got a chance, the people that were creative got a chance to audition and perform. That was getting us ready for. If we were rappers, we were poets, to deal with crowds, and it was just getting, getting us together. Yeah. So, I mean, do you guys still have talent shows, things of that nature?
Yeah. So our kids. So first of all, I came out of that generation as well. Shout out to Alice Faye Lloyd, who was my choir director, and literally, I think every high school thought they had the best high school talent show. I remember folks at Cass trying to sneak in the King's talent show, trying to perform in the whole 9 yards. It's a couple of layers to that. Our kids have kind of changed.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, when we did our talent shows, we put on the talent shows.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Okay. So, and I can't speak for Mumford back in the day, but at King, the production, the setup, the acts, and all that kind of stuff were specifically set up by the kids. Our kids, for some reason, don't want to be. They don't want to do the lift and the work. To do that portion.
They want to be in it, but they don't want to do the work.
So it's like constantly pulling teeth.
Okay.
So, and I also will say, we're shifting our mindset, but also we have some that rob our kids of those experiences because their mindset is not to have fun. Their mindset is do stuff. Nefarious stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna use the F word.
Right.
I'm not talking about F you, but I'm talking about the fight word. I'm trying to erase that word because at Mumford we're moving past that. We're moving past that whole stigma and reputation. But if some kids, unfortunately, are not coming with the mindset of I'm coming to a show, I'm coming to to cheer my people on. Yeah. So I will say that is definitely an area at Mumford of opportunity for us to do more of that. Because when we tried to do some things, like when we do our, but we actually did our what's that senior event? Oh, what is that called?
The Grammy?
The Grammys.
Yeah.
So that's new. So when we didn't have the Grammys at King. So that, at Southeastern and Mumford, that was something the kids wanted to do. So when the kids did have the Grammys, it did turn out really, really well. Right. But I can say that it's definitely an area of opportunity because I can say events like that bring the school community closer. Okay. Yeah, it definitely does. So we have not actually, I can't even say the years prior to me have not had quote unquote talent shows. We've done the Grammys,
Okay.
which everybody comes to. But I agree with you going back to those types of opportunities so kids can really understand, because it was powerful to be able to see us cheer folk on,
Yeah,
to be able
there's
to.
different
I think you had
talents.
comedians come out of that, you know,
Yeah,
singers.
absolutely.
You had people, you know, dancers that were coming out of that experience and really being able to, you know, build that whole self-esteem, build up that whole school pride,
Yes,
the whole
sir.
9 yards. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to doing more. You hear me, Ms. McVeigh?
See.
We need to do more talent shows. I already know Ms. McVeigh probably watching.
And
Let's
what
see.
about fashion shows? And what about, you know, I remember sewing class. I remember cooking
Man,
class.
cooking, health.
Yes, health. All of those classes, like, they seem like they don't exist.
They do.
They do?
See, so within the district is going from it's called career technical education.
Okay.
So CTE for the majority of DPSCD high schools is not in the building.
Okay.
It's actually at our Bright Off, Go Lightly.
Okay, Bright Off, okay. I remember that.
Yeah,
That's vocational.
Okay,
in the vocational center. So we
Okay.
do have, you know, cosmetology. They have fashion. They have pipe fitting. They have, you know, construction. So they have all of those things. They
The
have
welding
culinary
class,
art.
yeah.
They got welding. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, at Bright Off, they literally have a full little cafe,
Oh,
the whole
really?
9 yards. Bright Off is off of Hubble, isn't it?
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
Yeah. So they literally have a full cafe right there on the premises where kids are actually managing like a little restaurant. I know at Go Lightly, they also have, Go Lightly is our east side one, right? Is that right, Neil? I think so. So Go Lightly, they actually have every holiday, not during COVID, but to everybody, if you want a good meal, shout out to Maurice, my fraternity brother that does it on the east side. But at all of our culinary schools within the district, they actually offer these little buffets you can pay $10 for, and it's made by the kids.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So you can go there for lunch.
Oh, yeah. So for the cafe at Bright Off, you can go anytime, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really?
But I can tell you, like on the holidays, all of the centers that have culinary arts, they have a little buffet thing. I don't know how it's gonna work after COVID.
Right.
But that the kids literally prepare all the food. They, you know, and it is a phenomenal time. So and it's usually like $9 or $10.
Wow, that's
so
a nice little day place.
Yeah, that's that.
And you're supporting the kids.
And they actually have, you know, so if some kids are set up to sort of do the culinary arts, and then some kids want to do the hospitality management. So I mean, they have the linen. I mean, you know, candles, the whole 9 yards. So I've been able to check out a couple of those. So those programs are still there.
Okay, they just
they're
outside
just
of the
not
school.
inside
Got
of
it. Okay.
a majority of the building.
Okay.
Now, I had my two-part question that I lost train of thought, so I had to think of something on the fly.
Okay.
But now I'm back. I got a little razzle-dazzle, but I'm back. Now, vaccine.
Right.
Are they making the teachers take the vaccine? And do you think in the future it would be mandatory for the kids to have to take the vaccine?
Good question. So I think whenever we had this conversation about COVID, I think it's two levels of it. First of all, I think when people are saying as far as kids coming back within the buildings, I think that push is really amongst the elementary students.
Okay.
Elementary and middle school, because we know transmittability specifically for elementary, middle school kids are low. High school, they full grown adults like you and I. Yeah. As far as the mandatory piece, no teacher, no administrator is forced to take the vaccine. So one of the things, one again, coming out of our vision of our superintendent, the district is going to look at setting up online school specifically for families and for parents that don't want their kids to go specifically back in face-to-face whenever face-to-face happens. So that will always be an option for persons as well as for teachers. So, you know, for teachers, you know, if you're not comfortable, if you have some underlying health conditions, and then at the end of the day, you also are skittish about taking the vaccine, that's your personal choice. You will be able to do some things, you know, through an online sort of platform to service the kids, because it's going to be kids and families that are going to sort of, be under that sort of umbrella. As far as vaccines for high school students, I don't think it will ever once again be mandatory. But I do think it's definitely something that, families should definitely consider, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that everybody's going to be healthy.
Absolutely.
So as administrators and teachers, no one is forced to take the vaccine. But definitely, we want everyone to be healthy and safe. So we would hope that people would make that decision.
There it is.
Now, I have a question about when this COVID all hit. It was literally, March last year? And in the middle, beginning of the school year. What was that, the third quarter?
It was last week of February, like that first week of March.
Okay.
So we had just gotten back from that break when it hit.
How was the transition to, because everything happened so fast.
Yep.
It happened so fast. You went from one extreme to another. How was the transition of getting the kids home and then setting them up from virtual learning?
Crazy, but that just proves the heart of our staff members within the district. So literally, the Detroit Public School Community District literally went from a full functioning, sort of traditional sort of school to literally, when we had that first rollout of COVID, providing meals to families literally probably within 2 weeks after that last sort of round.
Okay.
A month later, and probably just under a month, we actually also provided packets for families to actually work on and submit for credit. By that April and May, under the leadership of our superintendent, we were actually also able to give out laptops and tablets to families as well.
I was going to ask.
But I would just say it was just crazy and bananas. I think it hit everybody. Specifically, everybody was shocked. But it just spoke to the character of our staff members, the character of our teachers, the character of our administrators to keep pushing and actually keep on pushing education. Okay. So whereas, I know that there were some school districts that were actually only doing school on Monday and Wednesday. The expectation really from the beginning for our kids were that they were either to log in, sign in with their phone, email teachers. That expectation was every day. Okay. So instruction was happening, specifically every single day. And I do know that there were some districts that were not doing that and are not doing that now.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. So our kids, literally, our teachers are expected to be on live every single day, providing instruction to kids. Not pre-recorded. There's, the expectation is that they're providing instruction daily.
Now, how prepared were the schools, the district, for this pandemic?
So no one was, worldwide, no one was prepared. I think that, I remember kind of the day that it kind of shut down and Governor Whitmer, shut everything down. I remember just thinking we were going to be out and back on Monday.
Really?
You know what I mean? So, wow. I think we had all kind of been hearing like December, what was going on in China. It was like, whatever, they dealing with it.
Right.
January, whatever. Yeah. Then, in that late January, February, when the cases start coming over in the United States. So no one was prepared. No one was prepared for that pandemic. But I think leadership and then the work of our administrators and our teachers, support staff, really ensured that education continues, specifically in our district. Okay. So, like I said, we were passing out packets. I remember when my former my former principal, Dr. Beverly Ann Gray, her husband actually came up to get a packet for their granddaughter from Mumford, because we were servicing all grades, K through 12, at Mumford, as far as coming up packets. I didn't have a mask on.
Wow.
Because literally we were, passing out packets, and I couldn't do all of that and worry about the mask at that point. But, just from day one, we were doing whatever it took to support our families, doing whatever it took by passing out meals. So, literally, we were providing 5 meals a day to families.
Yeah, and then,
you know what I mean? I'm talking like real food. And quite honestly, still continue to do that. I think it's 2 days a week, but you get like enough food for 3 days.
Okay.
The first, like on a Tuesday, and then on Thursday, you actually pick up for another 4 days, including Sunday, and then partial Monday. Okay. So they're still doing that specifically in the district, for families.
They should bring back the pizza boats. the pizza shaped like a boat. That pizza was, oh my goodness, that
Throw some
pizza was
ranch
so
on
good.
there?
What? Man, that pizza was so good, man. And then the milks, man. Listen, this I
Now, they
wanna-
did have the best chocolate milk. in
Oh
school.
man, that
Almost
pizza was so good. You be like, hey, you want
Most
the pizza?
definitely.
Look, so, how has the grades
Oh, good question.
changed? Are they declined? They're the same, or they're increased since the COVID and the virtual teaching?
So every school district in this nation has a higher level of students not doing well academically. Quite honestly, our experience as far as school was like half academic, half social. Yeah. And that was, for a lot of students, I wasn't really coming to school specifically for math, English, social studies, and science. I was coming to school because I was trying to play football. I was trying to, I'm coming to school because I was on the basketball team. I'm coming to school because I had a girlfriend, and that she pushed me on, and that was my social sort of environment. Mm-hmm. So across the country, that's been something that all schools have been dealing with as far as grades and a higher level of students failing classes. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we have sort of done in the district, specifically starting this next semester, is actually kind of looking at the way grades kind of happen, and specifically being able to say that no student will earn a F. It will actually go to a no grade, and then the student has to retake the class. Okay. So very specifically, any student that, for within the district that currently they can't get less than the D. But based upon technology issues, based upon, mama is dealing with COVID issues, based upon a lot of those issues. So our board, coupled with our superintendent, kind of developed an alternative grade system that's actually going to roll out next semester. So students will have the ability, once again, they will be able to not earn a F, quote unquote, on their report card, but still at the high school level, it's still credits that they have to take. So it's not a free pass.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's, so let me say to the student, it's not a free pass. Very specifically, it is because you have to take those classes. So if you, if you get that no grade in Algebra 1, and then you get it in your social studies class, world history, or personal finance class, you have to take those credits. Okay. So before you can walk across that stage, you have to make sure that you do it either through credit recovery or that you do it in summer school. So, but the whole idea really is, I think our academic committee within our board, they wanted to also make sure that they're being equitable and fair, and also showing a level of empathy in this time that we're in. Because it's tough for our kids. I mean, our kids, quite honestly, are living in tough situations. As I'm driving up Puritan, as I'm driving, up and down Greenfield, as I'm driving, up and down, 6 Mile, 7 Mile, in those neighborhoods, our kids are dealing with some tough situations.
Absolutely.
So I think the idea of that was to ensure that kids are going to be successful. Kids are still going to be held accountable because they have to retake those classes if they don't pass them, but also being able to sort of lead with some empathy and some grace for persons, because it's tough.
It is tough.
It's definitely tough.
Now, I have another question. I have two questions. How is attendance online? Some of these parents have to work, and then the kids are there to be responsible getting their lessons and their classes out. So how is attendance? And then I read a study about suicide with children. So how do you talk to the kids about that, or, by you not being hands-on and in the building, how do you handle those type of situations?
So with attendance across the nation is down. So
it is?
Everywhere, urban districts, rich districts, poor districts, country districts.
All districts.
People are dealing with that. I would just say this for all of our parents. So we have a phenomenal culture team at Mumford that literally they work directly with kids through our deans and then our cultural facilitators. I spent when we were before they stopped learning labs. I spent about 3 days just working with them and overhearing the conversations. To all parents, the biggest information I would give, if you're able to, a couple of things. The first thing is, if you're there with your student, sit next to your student while they're doing their work. Mm-hmm. And don't just take for granted that the computer is up and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Because 9 times out of 10, they are not.
Right.
They are not. So, you know, one of the things that, you know, I heard all of my team say is you need to be in the room with them. Mm-hmm. You need to be, you need to be actively checking on them, because quite honestly, kids will lie.
Oh yeah,
we lie.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing I will definitely say is, for specifically parents within the Detroit Public Schools community district, get your students' Power School log in. Mm-hmm. And it's something, Power School is actually the student information system that you can actually have live updates on what your student is doing. So you'll be able to see if Damien isn't logging in. Right. You'll be able to see if Damien is not turning in grades. You'll be able to see all of that information the same time as the teacher puts it in the grade book.
Oh, that's
so I would be able to say, no matter where you are, I know some schools have something called MyStar. Mm-hmm. Some schools have something called Power School. Get the parent login so you'll be able to get that information. Because at the end of the day, and I'll also say this, I mean that whole, and my mom was a single parent, so I didn't come from this little whitewash sort of situation. Ask your student how school is going.
right.
Yeah.
And not just, that kind of glaze over.
Yeah.
Ask in-depthly how school is going. What classes are you having some difficulty in?
Right.
How are those grades looking? Let's look at Power School together. So before you buy that PlayStation 5, before you buy them new J's is dropping, before you buy those Balenciagas, before you buy that Gucci belt, ask them about their grades.
Great point.
Have some dialogue with them about how that is going, and be able to ask and look at proof.
Right. That's right.
To be able to say, okay, let's go on Power School and let's see if it's lining up.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So, and the other thing is, I'll say constantly reach out to the school.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, all administrators are in the building. I've been in the building since March 20th of 2020. So I did not work from home. I opted to go to Mumford every single day. Right. You know what I mean? To be able to sort of work and to be able to serve. Have some dialogue with your administrator, with some of the teachers, emailing teachers, quite honestly, but reaching out to the administrator to be able to ask how their student is doing. But being there and being able to be present, even if you're working. So, I mean, I get it. Mm-hmm. Parents are working, but we're not too busy to put Power School on your cell phone.
That's right.
Just like you got Instagram, just like you got Tinder, just like you got Facebook, just like you got all them other apps on your phone.
You can have that one.
Put Power School, put MyStar on your phone so you're able to see real time where your students are.
That's a great
Man.
And you asked about suicide. So, yes, so that goes back to Q's question about the social worker. So we're doing something in all of our schools. You'll hear the conversation about self-care, because that's something I think in our rush as educators to make sure that we're providing instruction, we kind of did not put as heavy of an emphasis on. Also, as a parent, being able to say, if you feel like your student is overwhelmed, if you're feeling like that there's something going on that may be affecting their mental, we're going to pause on logging on today. We're going to pause on, let's talk about what's going on with you. Let's talk about how we can support. Let's talk about, are there some things that are happening that I'm noticing as a parent, you know what I mean, that are concerning and I need to be aware about. Because like I said, unfortunately within our community, suicide is unfortunately has kind of also been, hyped up. People have kind of, made it fun, made it something sexy, that's how you get remembered. No, our kids need to understand that there's always tomorrow. There's always a mistake that we're all going to make as adults, kids, they can be corrected. And, this whole thing with internet and the whole 9 yards, those, pieces don't mean anything. And at the end of the day, you'll overcome that as well. So yes, those rates are going up, but I do think it's some things that we can do to support our kids to make sure that we get it going.
Man, I wish we had more time.
That
we
hour go by so quick.
Hour go by so fast. We need to do a part 2 because there's so many more questions that I have. And we like to, thank Principal P,
Yes,
Damian
thank you
Perry,
so
man, for
much.
coming in and spending his time and sharing this. Hey, listen, this is Mumford Mustang's principal, man. This is my alumni. Now, before we get out of here, we gotta test your movie skills.
Okay.
Oh, but
Right.
wait, before we do that, let me just give a shout out to Jay Reed. She did our glasses for us.
Okay. Absolutely.
She did. Oh, that's a cup. Oh, she did our cups. I'm drinking water right now in my coffee cup. And she also did us some stemless wine glass and our mask. So look for merchandise from Q and She, the dinner table. Thank you, Jay Reed. We love it. Thank you so much. It's so sweet and dope.
Absolutely. So this real quick question, and you come from the era, so I'm expecting you to know this.
Okay, I'm ready.
If you were being chased by the Radamas, or if the Diaz brothers was looking for you, you were in 2 movies, or you were watching 2 movies. What are those 2 movies? If you were being chased by the Radamas, and the Diaz brothers was looking for you, what 2 movies were you watching?
Diaz Brothers is Scarface, right?
Hey, you got that one.
What was the other one?
Radamas.
I don't know that other one, dog.
Wait.
Now you can't make it without getting chased by the Radamas. Don't forget about that.
I already know, man. I don't know.
Oh,
And I'm a movie
man,
buff,
that's
too.
classic.
I'm going to say you're a movie buff. You watch movies.
You know what that is, she?
No, I knew
No,
the
see,
first
I
one.
don't see-
I
I
knew
don't
the
see
first
the
one.
We get chased by the Radamas. We get chased by security. We get chased by old man playing and that bullshit gun when he come out. I feel like we on a damn track team.
That is Lean on Me.
No, oh, but I gotta take some strikes from you, Principal. P.
What was it?
Juice.
It so was. Hold on, Tupac said that, didn't
Yes, he
he?
did, man.
He did.
See, I didn't know that one. I knew the first
did.
one.
Yes, he did,
That's
man.
when he had that gun.
Yeah.
And he was trying to
Him
talk
and Q,
him.
him and Q got into it.
He
Yeah,
was trying
man.
to talk him into. Yeah.
Man, this has been fun, man. We got to bring you back on, man, for a part 2 because there's so many questions I know that she have. And then we get a chance to talk to the callers and the listeners, man, so they can ask questions and give comments as well. So we definitely going to do a part 2. So, man, once again, man, we appreciate you for stopping in, taking time,
Thank you
man.
so much, Principal Perry.
Coming on the dinner table.
Principal P.
Yes.
It's actually one of my best friends. So.
Absolutely. So we thank y'all for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week. Man, we got some actors coming in next week. You know what I'm
have a
saying?
great show.
Man, we got a great show for you. You got my dude Eddie Kane coming through, and then we got Cass from Asbury Park, which I'm in Asbury Park.
Yay, Q.
Listen, the premiere is February 27th, 7 o'clock at Fort Wyoming, 8 o'clock at Imagine Royal Oak Theater. We'll be talking about that next week. Again, thank you,
Thank y'all
Mr. Perry, for
tuning
coming
in to the dinner table with
Dinner
Q
table,
and
Q and
She.
She. Shout out to my man Miles over there.
Yes,
engineer.
What's up, Miles? Another Mustang.
Mustang. You should have been a Mustang. All right, we out of here.
Peace.